The organisation's motto, courage and devotion. Zoe's Ark set out to help orphaned children, but instead it is better known for a huge scandal of attempted abduction of children from Africa. It was in 2007 that Zoe's Ark was part of a campaign to evacuate 10,000 orphans from the Darfur region of Sudan to place them in foster care here in France. But then 6 of its members, including the founder Eric Breteau and his partner Emily Lelouch, arrested in Chad as they were about to put 103 children, said to be from the Darfur region, onto a flight. The group accused of attempted abduction, as the vast majority of them proved to be Chadian, often still with living parents. 6 were sentenced in Chad to 8 years hard labour. They were, though, repatriated to France and pardoned by Chad's president. The French courts opened their own case, and in 2013 they were sentenced to 2 years suspended imprisonment, despite them still claiming their innocence. At the time, the courts blocked money for the victims to be paid once they reached adulthood. But as Harold Girard and Fadile Bhayat have discovered for France 24, many of them still fighting for any compensation.
In total, there were 103 of us child victims, victims of Zoe's Ark. We come from different places, some from Biltine, some from Tine, from Adre. Almost all the children involved now live in towns in eastern Chad. Fewer than 10% live in the capital.
Adam is Chadian, age 23. He was 5 years old when the association Zoe's Ark attempted to send him to France with 102 other children. They were supposed to be taken in by French families who believed they were caring for orphans from Sudan's Darfur region, exactly what the members of the association claimed at the time.
We've even created a WhatsApp group for victims' families. I'm the representative in the capital in N'Djamena, so I have to travel back and forth to the east like today. It's exhausting, but I hold on. Good evening, Hafiz. How are you?
Here in Adre, Adam is eagerly awaited. He's spent years fighting for the victims of Zoe's Ark to be compensated, as ordered by the Chadian courts in 2007. That day, he gathers several parents to explain the progress of his efforts.
The court clearly stated that for a child to be eligible for compensation, they had to be 18 years old. Time has passed, and we have now reached the required age. We are adults today.
The events took place 18 years ago, but this father, whose child was nearly taken to France, remembers it as if it were yesterday.
It was only after Eid and the end of Ramadan that we were told our children had been taken and brought to Abéché. We immediately came here to Adre and found their bags on the ground. For 3 or 4 days, we searched everywhere for our children. I don't even know if we ate. We didn't stop for even a minute. We eventually went to Abéché, and that's where we found our children, at the orphanage.
Another father thought he was entrusting his child to a boarding school here in Chad.
When these people came, they made us understand that this place would be a school and a boarding facility. They told us our children had been registered, that they would stay inside and would not go anywhere, that it would be like this for 5 years. We were happy.
All the parents we met said that at the time, the association promised the children would receive religious education, a powerful argument in this conservative Muslim region of Chad. Back then, the association Zoe's Ark gathered Adam and other children inside this building in the centre of Adre, which had been converted into a boarding facility in 2007. Today, Adam does not remember passing through here. It's Ibrahim Ubali, the father of another child victim he met earlier, who takes him inside.
That wall didn't exist before. This one too, they added it. They changed almost everything. This is the school where all the children taken by Zoe's Ark were brought. They were all here. And from here, they were taken to Adre Airport to then be brought to Abéché. We thought it was right in the city center, in full view of everyone. We never suspected for a second that it would end like this. The authorities knew this place. It wasn't a secret project. We thought it was a real school. People who don't know our story have their own opinions. They say you sold your children. But who sells their child? It's because they promised us an education. That's why we agreed.
During the trial of Zoe's Ark members in Chad, one of the Chadian middlemen responsible for identifying and bringing children to this building admitted to passing around 60 Chadian minors off as Sudanese orphans from Darfur. But what about the other children? According to an official list drawn up by the Chadian state, which we were able to consult, only 5 of the 103 children involved were actually Sudanese. Zoe's Ark founder Eric Breteau insists he didn't know that the vast majority of the children were Chadian, nor that many were not orphans. He also claims he never intended to have the children adopted, only to evacuate them to France and to force Paris to take the Darfur crisis seriously. That's what he explains in this video, produced by his association a few months before his arrest.
Evacuating the children of Darfur to our country means bringing part of the problem into our country. It forces political leaders to react to this and forces them to respond to French public opinion. That is what we're trying to do. We have no pretension of changing the world. We are not idealists to that point. We simply want to create that small spark that will trigger debate and, we hope, open a major international discussion.
But in 2008, on the French TV programme On n'est pas couché, Eric Breteau admitted that he had not told the whole truth.
Did the people who entrusted the children to you know that they were going to France?
No.
No? Then it was illegal.
Contacted, Eric Breteau did not wish to answer our questions. But thanks to Adam, we meet Hamza, one of the child victims, who says he exchanged messages with the founder of the association. He doesn't seem to realize he was speaking with the main person implicated in the case.
I spoke with one of the kidnappers. His name is Eric Breteau. He seems to think their operation was normal and that they came to help us. For them, they didn't kidnap anyone.
Hamza agrees to show us the messages sent to him by Eric Breteau.
If the person who brought you to us lied by saying you were an orphan, I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. You must surely have a birth certificate and identity documents explaining where you were born and who your parents are. At the time, I did not have them.
For Hamza, this line of defense is not convincing.
If someone recognizes their mistakes and apologizes, then you know that person has changed. But if they refuse to admit their faults and keep defending their cause by saying, I didn't commit kidnapping, we're telling the truth, then you cannot forgive them. Before, when I heard people talk about this story, it made me furious. They would say, those white people took you. Later, I struggled with white people. I saw them all as paedophiles and child thieves, people who weren't looking out for us. Today, now that I've grown up, I know not all white people are like that.
So what role did France play in this affair? given that several of its nationals were organising this evacuation operation from Chadian soil. The association even benefited from French military flights to travel inside the country. Another lesser-known fact, Éric Breteau and his partner, Émilie Lelouch, were summoned months before their arrest by the office of Ramayad, then Secretary of State for Human Rights. One man handled the file, Eric Walter, former advisor to Ramayad. We were able to meet him.
Their project was completely illegal.
Eric Walter explained that French intelligence services had detected irregular humanitarian activity, why Éric Breteau and Émilie Lelouch were then summoned to the ministry.
They both arrived. The meeting was extremely tense. I remember a kind of underlying aggressiveness, not physical, of course, but a lot of tension. In good faith, we tried to explain what they could and could not do. Adoption, they could not. That was simple. But they never admitted it was adoption, and so nothing could contradict them or dissuade them from carrying out the action they had already set in motion. That is what I remember.
The French members of Zoe's Ark were convicted in Chad of attempted abduction of children and sentenced to 8 years of hard labour, as well as ordered to pay more than €6 million to the victims. They were later transferred to France and pardoned by the Chadian president. The roughly 60 children with whom Adam remains in contact have never received compensation. To obtain justice, he wants to collect as many testimonies as possible. That day, he travels to the village of Abdallah Arbab's family, one of the fathers he met earlier in Adre. His son, Ramadan Arbab, is one of the victims of Zoe's Ark.
It was child theft, a real kidnapping. It's a disgrace. We heard many stories that we were taken to be used, maybe made to work in a factory. We were young, we didn't understand anything. For us at the time, it was an opportunity for education. In our village, there weren't enough schools. That's the only reason some parents decided to send us to Zoe's Ark. We were just herders and not educated. Having a chance to go to school was incredible for us.
His father kept dozens of documents essential to Adam's investigation.
You see, this is a first complaint letter written in 2011, kept by Mr. Abdallah. They did not get a response, so they made a new request in 2012. They contacted a member of parliament, but also directly the public prosecutor.
We spent 13 months in N'Djamena at the time, waiting for an answer to all these letters. They told us each child would receive €60,000 in compensation, but they told us back then that to receive the money, the children had to be 18 years old, and for now, they've received nothing.
The only evidence we found of the compensation intended for the children is this document, showing that in 2009 the Chadian state deposited 562 million CFA francs, around €850,000, into an account opened for them at the Chadian Société Générale Bank. We contacted the Chorus Group, which took over this Chadian subsidiary in 2024, to ask whether the money was still in the account, but the bank declined our interview request. Adam has turned to one of the lawyers who defended victims' families in 2007. Today, he is their sole legal representative and acts as an intermediary with the Chadian government.
We were involved from start to finish, from the start of the judicial procedure to the conclusion before the criminal court here in N'Djamena. I believe the state, which is also accountable before the courts, will not take much longer to pay this amount. That is why we remain hopeful. I make a strong appeal to the highest authorities to commit swiftly to resolving this matter and for justice to finally be delivered to these child victims.
Allez, merci. Okay. Courage. Merci beaucoup. Bonne chance. On laisse le reste.
As we were filming the final minutes of this report, the Chadian presidency informed the family's lawyer that the compensation process would be restarted. A glimmer of hope for Adam and for all the other child victims who, 18 years after the events, still feel abandoned by the justice system.